You're listening to the Mediascope show with Ellen Gunning on 103.2 Dublin City FM.
Welcome back. I'm joined in studio by Stephen O'Reilly from Scouting Ireland. Stephen, thanks for coming in. Tell me something about Scouting Ireland, because Scouts seem to have been around forever. Scouting Ireland almost seems to be going through a newer, groovier, hipper phase at the moment. I can't quite pin it down.
Basically, the movement, it's all about developing young people in nature and outdoors. That's really key to what it is. But I suppose when we're looking at now environmental problems, I suppose would say, is we have to take into account the impact that climate change and biodiversity loss and all these kind of issues are going to have on our how we develop young people. So Scouting Ireland in 2016 we reached a milestone of 50,000 members, which is a landmark for the association.
That's huge.
It's a
very
huge
sizable
number of people.
Are you the largest youth organisation in Ireland?
Yes.
50,000 members.
And there's 40 million Scouts worldwide, so we're actually the largest movement in the world.
Much bigger than I would have thought it was.
And
much bigger.
That is generally the reaction we get when you tell people. They don't understand. Like, there's 500 Scout groups in Ireland alone, and in every community. And one part of Scouting is really that Scouts serve our community, we serve our country. So it shows great confidence and optimism for the future of us continuing to do that.
You mentioned environmental stewards or champions in every community. Tell me a bit about that. Who are those people, or what do they do? What's the role?
Well, I think the role of kind of an environmental steward now really needs to kind of, I suppose the Scouts, like I said, we have a sense of duty. It's inherent to who we are. And I suppose we can be leaders now in this change that needs to happen. There's a big transition now that needs to happen, not just our energy, but how we consume things.
And how does Green Scout then manifest itself?
So I'm an environmental scientist, and it's kind of when I got to the end of my undergraduate
so you're making them all be environmentally aware, yeah?
Well, I like to think when you're a leader, you're a role model. And
you're encouraging. Yeah.
I'm encouraging and nurturing, because that's those two important words. It's encouraging and nurturing, because you can't force these things on people. So you have to build.
Actually, very true. Yeah.
You have to build things up slow, and everything I do with Green Scout, and it's very much linked with the principles of what our founding member Baden Powell has said all along, and his message is still as powerful, and his vision is still as powerful as always. So that's the important thing. It's very much me linking with what the Scouting is, and then them understanding that and seeing their sense of duty and the role that they could have. At the moment, it's kind of a pilot that I ran in my own Scout group.
Okay.
The aim is kind of to create more awareness in our communities of environmental issues locally or internationally, to look after manage the carbon footprint of our Scout group. So we do hope that we've had great success with this now in my group, and it's kind of still ongoing, and we do hope to form a team in Scouting Ireland that are going to have some sort of green package. Now, it might not appear as Green Scout then, because like I said, not everyone has a Scout, okay. Not as fortunate as us. So we do hope that this is going to develop in, again, harnessing our social capital and what we already do in the Scouts to go out then and be leaders and help this transition, because it's really now everyone in society, we feel, has a role that they can play, and we're looking for viable solutions. So we feel that maybe we're kind of putting it out there now that we could be part of this solution to help.
Well, I know when I met you a couple of weeks back, you were actually speaking at the Sustainable Summit in Dublin, and I instantly thought, what are Scouts doing at a sustainability summit? But you were talking about trying to reach out to a wider community. Have you a vision, have you a grand plan for how businesses or communities could interact more with the Scouts and help to, pursue this more environmentally sustainable approach to living?
There's opportunities there. We would obviously show our interest in linking up with organisations, but at the moment it's kind of at a stage where we've just been linking up with, I guess, organisations that will tie into what we're doing at community level.
But you're looking for those kind of groups like the Tidy Towns to approach you, or
and
you
the
be
local
approaching
county
them?
councils. And I suppose the whole thing with Green Scout then, and this idea of the Scouts being involved, it's my keyword that I keep using is action. It's now going out and showing the leadership that we need, because we know that the world needs to decarbonise by 2050, which is a very tight deadline. It's not too far
around
in
the
the future.
corner.
It's in my lifetime. So while we're out doing litter cleans and things like this, which is very important, I suppose, even when you look at the vast problem with marine litter, like, it has to stop at the source. It's not good. We can't keep going out and cleaning the beaches all the time. So
Yeah,
we're
it's
out
not
there
about
and-
having more bodies out there cleaning up. Yeah.
But that is important. For the moment there is litter on the beach and we're down there all the time, the scouts, and we're cleaning. And you know, when we're in our uniform and we're in our neckerchiefs, it's a real symbol. And you know, the amount of people that stop us on the beach and say fair play to you for doing that, it gets people thinking. Do you know what I mean? So
it raises awareness just by you being there.
just by being there, and showing that we're taking a leadership role in this, and we're asking people to help us with this as well.
And what about, you mentioned climate change earlier. One of the first things that President Donald Trump did when he took office in the States was to remove all reference to climate change from the American president's website.
Yeah.
Are there many climate change deniers out there? Are you finding that you're getting a lot of people saying, nah, it's not really as bad as they say? Or is it that people generally support you but don't know what to do?
I think it's really a mix of both. So I find that sometimes it's communicating the level and of climate change, that the problem now is hard. I understand that in society now there's loads of problems. People have their own crosses to bear, and it can be very hard to put environment to the front. And then, but no, people, like, I think in general, people do want to help, do want to get involved. And again, this could be, like you said, an opportunity now for the Scouts to come in and say, well, we're doing this, why don't you come on board? This is a way that you can help. This is a way that you can
Because
fix
it would
problems.
almost make it easier for people if they could, if you gave them a roadmap.
Well, this
And
is
said,
it, yeah.
you know, here are the ways that you can tap in. You can do X, or you can do Y, or you can do something else. And I presume it would also be good for the Scouts, because it would continue to create a greater profile for Scouting Ireland.
Yeah, the movement's kind of motto is creating a better world. And it is like, when you're in the Scouts, all the principles, the skills, your behaviour, you challenge yourself constantly. You take that with you outside of Scouting. Like, if some people maybe at 18 they might decide to leave the Scouts, but whether you're in Scouts or not, you still have that mentality.
You've acquired the skills.
You've
and
acquired the skills.
You've
have the
lived in that
background.
environment.
So you are going out, you're trying to improve society.
And one of the things that you said when you were talking to that summit was that Scouts and Guides have a better mental health in later life.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that. Is that because of the interaction? Is it because of outdoor pursuits? What do the studies show?
So in 2016, the end of 2016, the movement welcomed a study, and the main finding was that in later life, Scouts and Guides actually have better mental health. So this was a UK-wide study. There was 10,000 individuals. 29% of those 10,000 were in Scouts and Guides when they were younger. And the main finding then was at the age of 50, they were 15% less likely to have mental health issues over like a wide variety. So really, it's an amazing thing to come out of Scouts, that because it's really linking what we're already hearing from the scientific community about exposure to nature and how it's good for our health and our mental health. So it's just being outdoors, being in the middle of the Irish Sea like you are when you're a Scout, or up at the top of the mountains, getting that fresh air, getting away from the pressures of life.
And it's what you were saying earlier too, that it doesn't really matter even if you leave when you're 18, you've been part of the culture. So you've developed this love of the outdoors and nature, which I presume you carry through for the rest of your life, no matter what.
There's a story I always tell people. It's on one of my first annual summer camps, which is the highlight of the year, your 2-week summer camp. We did a moving camp down the River Barrow. So we kind of go from place to place every day, and we kayak and we row down. And I remember at a point in the river I was kayaking along, and I was just me, age 10, and we just had left the town, and for probably 10 kilometre stretch there was just trees around us, like you had totally just left civilization.
Okay.
And
It was wilderness country.
country, and at that point I just remember thinking, like, maybe at age 10 I wouldn't have known how to kind of verbalise what I had felt at the time, but it was this feeling of like the experience I was having while kayaking down the river, and that this needs to be protected, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, this was man and nature linking together.
Yeah, really, man and nature linked together. And the next time I had that actually was only a year or two ago, when Malahide Sea Scouts, we were trying to raise €600,000 for our scout den, and our 15 and 16 year olds, they rowed from Malahide to Holyhead in Wales. And I just remember being out in the middle of the sea in our tiny boat and having this 360 view of the ocean, and you're just...
Oh, jeepers, I get the Barrow, but 360 view of the ocean now would scare the living daylights out
and it just
of
makes
me.
you feel really small, and it kind of opens your eyes to how big the world is, but how big of an impact we are having.
Stephen O'Reilly, for anybody who wants to get in touch with Scouting Ireland, either to join or to pursue business interests with you, how do they get in touch?